Hello, everybody. So, I'm doing a little channel change up here, but today the topic that we're going to be going over here is Android 16. Is this update really worth it? What is well, in my opinion, the most significant and most admirable thing that I find fascinating about this is that terminal update. Yes, we had a taste of it at Android 15, and it was kind of trash. I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of trash, and it was trash because they only offered you just a small little taste of it, a preview, where you can only have like a 15 gig partition. I mean, that's really not much. I mean, the partition that I have now still isn't much. It's about a 55 gig partition, but it's still better than the 15. I can actually do more stuff with this. But just to get squared off right away, this is Lineage. I am running Lineage. This is the Lineage 23. This is, we'll go down here real quick. This is the Lineage 23 nightly, and this is the full Android 16. Now, the Android terminal here, this is definitely a different experience, folks. Like, yes, the abilities and the protocols and the applications and things that you can do in this terminal is no different than what you can typically do in Termux and other terminal emulator apps that you could use already on the market. But what's the difference? The difference is the convenience. What I mean by convenience, if you're familiar with Andronix or you're familiar with just making a container, a distro box container, or just typical VMs, when you create any of these containers on Android, typically you've still got to do a bunch of extra time-consuming tinkering and additional applying of parameters, permissions, especially permissions, user permissions, and etc. This terminal here, just for example, allows you to do everything that you would want to do typically when you're on a Debian platform, headless, without any of these problems. So let's just do a couple examples. Like, first off, I can run sudo permissions, sudo apt update, just as an example. You can use sudo and you don't even need an actual password. This environment is separate from your actual phone's environment. This is its own thing. You don't have to worry about it. I've also gone as far as into testing out Gemini in here using the Gemini CLI and having it perform some physical tasks, just checking a couple things out, and this is way better than typical Termux. Now, one thing I did want to point out was, so I did install Ollama physically directly into this terminal without having to do anything extra outside of just going to the site and downloading Ollama and installing it. And by the way, Termux now does have an older version of Ollama in its repo available. It's just apt install Ollama, but just keep in mind it's not going to use any of these newer models, especially these newer small vision models. It's an older package of Ollama. But anyways, in the actual Android 16 terminal, we're back over here, and these are the current models I have in here, and the performance is actually pretty good. So, for example, well, I did this so I could be lazy. I made a little script here so I can just easily easily select these models without having to type in the whole Ollama name. So those are the ones there. I'm gonna run the Gamma 1B option 2 enter. Now the performance is actually going to hang right now because I'm recording. When I use this typically without recording, the performance is actually really quick. It's a good thing I didn't select any of the bigger ones. So just a quick prompt, hello. Oh, and this is on a Google Pixel 7a, so it has a TPU, which really accelerates and benefits using language models and stuff like that on this device. So, Control D to close that. Okay, and so let's go further. So we've got language models. I've even gone as far as to being able to try out installing server applications like Open Web UI. So check this out. So I do have Open Web UI in here. And by the way, when you create something that requires port access, you would have to go into your settings here, and you would actually have to allow the port access. Otherwise, it won't work. So I've got Open Web UI running on port 8080, and at first I was having issues accessing it until I actually went and allowed that. So if I were to go, I already got the local host at 8080. So here's Open Web UI. Now running the models from here, I definitely can't do this while recording. This is only an 8 gig phone, so that's just it's not gonna work while I'm doing all this. But when I do try to run the models through anything else besides the terminal, it kind of does lag. So realistically, I kind of prefer using it directly from the actual Android terminal. Go back over here versus doing it from there. But it gets better than that. So I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna close this, close that, close this, close that. So now let's take a look at how the desktop environment actually runs. So, oh, I forgot to do this. Sudo chmod plus x. I'm just enabling something. I'm lazy. I like to make scripts so I don't have to type things out. Okay, so then we're gonna launch my server, my desktop server here. Okay, so that's launched. And we're gonna click on here. I already set up my credentials, and here is the desktop environment that we got going on here. And it's very responsive. Like, I kind of wish I had a tablet with the Android 16 because, like, legitimately, even for Android, this is player, bro. Like, this shit slaps. Like, this is definitely a convenient experience. I could run VS Code, also in its own little environment, blase. Now, I haven't set up the sound. I do plan to get that situated, but I was trying to get PyOps working, but it's missing some dependencies that are only found in a traditional full-fledged Debian repository. I'm just trying to find out which packages it's looking for specifically to continue making that work, but that's for another time. But other than that, everything here seems to be completely operational. There hasn't been any errors that I found having to deal with applications or protocols or being able to enable specific system layer protocols. But this is just all I'm going to be going over here. This is just like just a quick rundown. Like, to me, this was the most important, most biggest feature about this whole update. And the reason why I'm not doing a video on how I actually went through all this is because I really don't. I'm too lazy for all that. To be real, I don't have the time for that. I just really want to show y'all what's new, what's hot with Android 16, and this is pretty much just a showcase of that. As far as like how to do all this, maybe I might make a video on how to do that. It's just there's a couple of just everybody's phone and OS it varies, and I'm using Lineage 23. I still had to disable that Signal 13, that Android process killer. Whenever I had to disable that, enable for this desktop VNC to actually stay up and running because it was automatically killing it every time I would launch it. So there's a couple of things that you would still have to be aware of while going through this. If I wasn't aware of it, I would have just been like, man, this is trash, it don't work. But I was aware that that's still a thing. And if you're on Lineage 22 and you're trying, or 22 or 22.5 and you're trying to get to 23, I'm just letting you know right now, you're going to have to download that. You're gonna have to download that ROM, and you're going to have to sideload that. You're not going to be able to just do a simple upgrade like from the previous updates of Lineage. And it's actually very simple. The instructions are in the here, but we can go take a look at see if they still show. Like, upgrading to 23 is actually very simple. I did have to remove Magisk from here to disable root. Oh yeah, system updates. Let's refresh this. Okay, so currently it's not going to show me that because I'm not the latest, but it has the instructions when you get there. It's really just one line of code you got to remember. You grab the ROM, have Magix uninstalled. You're going to reboot into your recovery, and then you're going to do the side load. And after that, pretty much, it's going to ask you if you would like to add additional packages. And it'd be during that moment where you decide whether or not you want to add stuff like Magisk or anything else. I'm not going with Google anymore, and I'm pretty much phasing out my use case and necessities for Google, especially from 16 going forward. And that's mostly because I'm going to be using this phone and my phones in general, using my own AI software and own AI little ideas for little pretty much little setups like this. Now that I know that I can use and take advantage of AI on Android to a whole nother tier, especially on these phones that have TPUs in them. If you see what's been coming out quite often is, there's a lot of new devices, new AI assistant or companion hardware, like, the Rabbit R1, and I call them junk because, like, I get how most of those things work, and that's kind of reason why I decided to mess around with this Pixel. I was like, I'm not gonna buy any of these things because I have that background of understanding what's in it, how it's made, and how it's just really junkware. Like, for an individual that doesn't really know anything about it, they just see the end result. It's junkware. Like, so I decided to make my own little junkware AI tool out of this Pixel phone, and not associating Google with this device, like not having any of its files, and like the package itself, it actually saves RAM and allows me to do more with it. Like, currently right now, my RAM is maxed out because I do have quite a bit of things loaded right now, including that model. But before, um, this was always almost halfway or 60, even when I had like one app open, because the rest were just Google services in the background consuming RAM. So, and when I remove that, I'm using AI applications loaded a little bit faster, like the little scripts that I have when I'm running these models with, and I haven't made any videos on that. But so I would definitely say with the Android 16 terminal, this update allows you to really take further advantage of your phone from a more convenient perspective if you are one of those individuals that actually does use desktop scenarios with their phone or spare devices laying around, because these phones now, the hardware in them, it's pretty much like a really good Raspberry Pi in most cases. Not all phones, but like this one, I would say this is definitely better than Raspberry Pi, like for sure, for sure, for sure. Like this TPU here, the Google's TPU that's in this phone, when it comes to using it for AI, is really, really, really like noticeably good, especially with like the flops. Like, I can't express how I'm never going back to any other brand, but I'm not going to be dealing with the Google services anymore. I'm just going to be using their hardware and going forward with Lineage. And I do know that some people are using Graphite, but I've always been a fan of Lineage, and that's just what I'm going to be doing from this point forward. And that's all I'm going to be going over here. I don't want to make this too long, but I hope you guys got a little bit of helpful information from this video. And if you're interested, in don't forget to like and subscribe.